face battles most never fought, pain, struggle, adversity. But here, we use that as fuel. This is the Battle Harder podcast, where we motivate, educate, and inspire warriors of life, veterans, survivors, leaders. We share stories and strategies to turn pain into progress. Here's your host, Coach Rob. Let's lock in and battle harder.
What is up, everybody? It's your host, Coach Rob, here at the Battle Harder podcast, where I hope to motivate, educate, and inspire you to become the best version of yourself. The man I'm speaking to today, I consider him a mentor of mine. I've been following him for a very long time. He's a father, he's a writer, he's a speaker, he's a business coach. He considers himself a free man, which I want to dive deeper into. So I'd like to welcome to the Battle Harder podcast, Sean Whalen. Sean, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
So before we get into all the good stuff, as I like to say, just give us a little background of who you are and what you currently do.
Well, you can use Google for that or read my book. It's a lengthy story, but I run a company called Lions Not Sheep. Like you said, I'm a dad. I own a couple different businesses and enjoy, really living life to the fullest.
So, maybe people don't know this, but what's your definition of free man? I know you have the free man tattoo, and I always loved that saying that comes from you. So expand on that for a little bit, please.
Breaking it down to the simplest form, needing nothing. It's kind of a philosophy that I have with Lions Not Sheep is, we're obviously community-based people and we thrive in community. But I wanted to become an asset to where I needed nothing. I could have my finances in order, my life in order, my family, so on and so forth. So it's really at the simplest form and the simplest root of it, becoming an asset, not being a liability, and needing nothing from anybody so that you can pour into your community, your friends, your coworkers, your businesses, and being able to be a free man that way.
And I think that goes into discipline equals freedom, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, needing nothing, like being able to literally provide for yourself, provide your own safety, provide your own food, provide your own everything. All the way down to the primal reality of power and water and electricity and being able to go and hunt, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think nowadays people, especially young men, really understand the whole no one's coming to save you and what that truly means, which I think free man and discipline equals freedom really goes into. With Lions Not Sheep, if I'm correct, did you start that kind of late in your life? Like, what year did you start that? And, what was kind of happening in your life that you said, man, I need to get off my ass and start this business?
Yeah, I was a self-made multimillionaire in my 20s. I grew up in a single-parent home with a single mom and found a lot of success really young, really early. I didn't really have any guidance and knowledge. I didn't really understand economics and things along those lines. And so I found myself at 31 years old going through what I like to consider a midlife crisis. If you mean midlife by like burning your world to the ground, burning your businesses to the ground, leaving a 10-year marriage, that's where I was at. And it was in that process one day, through my own pain, my own frustration, my own humiliation, my own embarrassment, that Lions Not Sheep came to me. It just kind of popped in my brain. It was something that just bounced around and wouldn't leave. And I ended up writing it on my bathroom mirror. And this is something a lot of people don't know, is it was just a mantra for me for almost 2 years. It was just something that I saw and started to really understand and dive in deep into. And it became really simple for me. It's 3 words. It's one of my favorite things when people see it. They're like, Lions Not Sheep, what does that mean? I'm like, what do you think it means? They're like, to be a lion, not a sheep. And I looked at it from that real simple reality of I'd lived most of my life as a sheep, doing what I was told, checking the boxes. Like, this is what success looks like. This is what being a dad looks like. This is what being a husband, and so on and so forth. And I found myself kind of checking all those boxes, but still being miserable, still not understanding, because I really didn't know who the hell I was. And those 3 words kind of became my 2.0 in life. And I realized that a lion does whatever the fuck he wants to do. When he wants to sleep, he goes and lays under a tree and sleeps. When he wants to eat, he goes and he kills. And that's just how it works. And so for me, it became that reality of embodying that in everything that I was doing. And as I started doing that and becoming more of that and kind of talking about it and sharing it, it started to catch on. And this is long before the apparel company, long before the coaching, long before the book, long before the speaking, long before any of that. And and it started to catch on with people. And I think people started to really understand the simplicity of the message, the simplicity of what it meant. It wasn't just a t-shirt or Sean's thing. It was like people started going, yeah, fuck, I want that identity. I want that reality. I want to be a lion, not a sheep. And so that's really been the foundation and the root of the growth and the success in the movement, is that simple message that was at one point in time just my own personal mantra to help me come back from divorce and bankruptcy and depression.
And that's amazing, you know. And a lot of time I talk about veterans and first responders as far as overcoming depression and anxiety and all this stuff and trauma that comes with that. But here you are, you know, I wouldn't say you're an average man, but a normal man who faced also trauma. And you do talk a lot about burning down the businesses, so to speak. Was that just from like crazy spending, living a lifestyle as a young kid? Like, what was that essentially that happened?
I talked about in my book how I felt like I was juggling bowling balls every single day of my life, where when I was at work, I needed to be at home. When I was at home, I needed to be at work. Like I was constantly glued to my BlackBerry. Kind of dates me a little bit, you know. We didn't have the smartphones back then yet. That was the smartphone, was the BlackBerry. You
Yeah.
know, I'd be on vacation with my family, but I'd be glued to my phone. And my reasoning was like, well, if I'm not here, then I can't, I can't provide this life. And I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what success really was. And I became so stressed. My marriage kind of started to go different ways, and my wife was emotionally over here and I was over here. And you know, I was that guy who looked at success as like, I'm going to grind my balls off until we have all this shit and then I'll be successful. And by doing that, it emotionally, psychologically, spiritually just beat me down to where I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I doing any of this? And I literally walked away from a company that I started from scratch that was doing $21 million a year. And I just literally walked out. And so it was more of me just kind of throwing in the towel and saying, I'm done. And I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. I just didn't want to keep doing what it is that I was doing.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, you just described insanity, doing the same thing over and over without end results, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, essentially, a lot of people, and I like what you said there because you know most business owners, myself included, the greats, you know, Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, you, like they always talk about you can't just keep grinding your face off. Like it's not a very realistic or relatable thing to do. But at the same time, there really isn't balance in business or being a business owner. So like, how do you do that now as uh, having kids and having kids that have kids and everything in your day-to-day life? How do you have that or mitigate that time?
You know, what I saw when I kind of burned everything to the ground is like, I followed the blueprint and the map that I had been given, right? Which was, you kind of climb this ladder and you scale and you grow and you get bigger and you higher and bigger and higher and bigger and higher. There was always like this target, and the target just kept going and moving and going and moving. And it was like I had to get bigger and bigger and bigger to find the success. And what I realized is like I built my professional world and then fit my personal life into it. And after I kind of burned everything to the ground, I was like, this seems ass backwards, because I'd rather be playing with my kids. I'd rather be at the beach. I'd rather be, you know, racing my cars or riding my dirt bikes or, you know, chilling with my friends than working. And I think anybody listening would say that. Like, then
Right.
you say, well, it's not reasonable. You can't do that. You have to work. And I was like, yeah, I understand that. But like, why is it that as I watch these greats that you talk about, Andy and Ed and a lot of these other guys, I'm like, well, why is it that I can't reverse engineer this? And describe like literally, if we're going to build a map, you know, I mean, I didn't serve in the military, but I spent a lot of time with my friends who do, and most of my close friends are all veterans. And you know, you look at like a battle map and how you create something, and it's like, well, here's the objective and what we're doing. And a lot of times what I've learned is when you kind of improvise some of these things, it doesn't necessarily make sense, but you have this end target, right? And so I was looking at it like, my end target is I want to have fun, like I want to play. And so what would it look like if I built a business that would support that instead of building a business, you know, like that was first and primary? And so I started kind of reverse engineering business. I started looking at it saying, what kind of life do I want to live? Like, how much money do I really want to have? What type of environment do I want to have with my kids? Because I was that guy working 15 hours a day, coming home, beat up, drug up, like, oh, just feel like I just got drugged through the mud all day long. And then I would try and play with my kids and do all this other shit. And I'm like, well, no, I want to play with my kids first and do all that, and then build a business that would support that. And that was like kind of the venture with Lions Not Sheep and my coaching and the investments that I was making and the things that I was doing is, it was like my family, my personal life comes first, and then I fit my business into that. And I figured out how to do it. And I got super clear on exactly what it looked like, and I built it. And that's where, for the last 6, 7, 8 years, I've been coaching business owners and, entrepreneurs and guys like that, because we don't see it that way. We weren't programmed that way. We were programmed to work our faces off. Yep. And then when we have leftover time, then we give it to our wife or our kids or this, or that, or the other. And nobody really wants that model. So a lot of the guys that I work with, like, they'll be running companies and whatever else. And it's like, I'm like, do you really need to be doing all of these jobs within your company, or can you outsource them? Can you hire people? Can you restructure and reframe things? And when you're not seeing it that way, like, that's really what my gift is. And what I do well with business owners is help them, like, reframe what they're really doing, because I was that guy. I was the guy doing everything, micromanaging everything. And once I stepped back, I realized, well, shit, this thing can run by itself and run on its own because I put the right people in play. And then that allows me to then go live the life that I want to live.
Do you think that comes from a point of being a man and just trying not to relinquish control? A lot of times we want to control everything, right? So was that a big issue, like, in your life and in your business, trying to just control everything?
Oh yeah, I think most dudes are that way. We're micromanagers, right? Especially when it's your baby. Like, when you start this and it's your company, like, I was involved in the marketing and the sales and the things and the hiring and the firing and all of this other shit, and in case in point with my investment company, when I started my real estate investment company, my first year I did $1.8 million in sales, but I was doing everything, right? And I thought I was successful. And then I had some pretty good sage advice from somebody, like, look, you need to get somebody to handle the operations. And so I hired a COO, and I turned over all of the shit that I didn't want to do, the hiring, the buying the phone systems for the office, like our CRMs, all this other stuff. And within year 2, we did $22 million in sales, because I just stayed in my lane and did what I was really good at. And I kind of relinquished all that. And it was hard. It's terrifying when you, like, hire people and start spending money and betting bigger and letting people do what they're good at. But that's been one of my biggest probably takeaways in business, is, like, I could learn how to program a website if I wanted to. I just don't want to. So I just hire somebody to do it. I don't want to pay the bills and figure out this and this. I just hire an assistant and say, here's all the bills, go pay it. And it's made my life significantly more profitable financially, but also profitable emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and psychologically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having the most time on this earth with the people we love and the things we enjoy is definitely what's most important. And most of your top guys always talk about being able to, ease a process, like you said, have someone pay the bills, have someone manage the day-to-day, so you can do what you have to do to enjoy life. And I like what you said about the team. Being from the military and from law enforcement, you always depend on your team. Your team is your life or death in any given situation. And so, what does that mean to you from a standpoint of building a team for business to be able to be successful?
I've done it really well, and I've done it really shitty. And I can tell you that when I step back and I allow my team to do what they're good at, we're the best. When I get myself involved in things and meander in things and kind of micromanage, we don't do well. But I think what's really cool is, like, I'm a visionary. Like, I'm the guy that can drive the vision and get everybody hyped and get everybody excited and kind of lay out the flow and the systems and the processes. And I think that what I've come to learn is that there's people. I used to hire people like me. I'd hire these jacked up, fired up dudes. I'm like, let's fucking go. That was a terrible idea. I don't need more people like me. I don't want people like me. I'm the only me. Like, if I put somebody like me in charge of spreadsheets, I'm fucked, because I hate spreadsheets. So if I hire a me, say, go handle the numbers, we're fucked. So I got to a really cool understanding about people's gifts and really understanding people's gifts, and so, like, when I hire people now, like, I don't look at resumes. I don't give a shit about your resume. I'm like, what drives you? What motivates you? What excites you? Are you excited by money? Or are you excited by praise? Like, are you excited about experiences? Or are you excited about financial reward? Because that really is important to the mentality and the psychological experiences you're going to have with employees. You know what I mean? How do you handle stress? Like, what do you do when you get pissed off? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you handle this shit? And I think once you can kind of get a clear picture of who you are as a leader, I think one of the best things that most leaders do is we acknowledge what we suck at. Like we could talk about what we're good at all day long. We toot our horns really easy, but to step back and go, look, I fucking suck at this. So I need to find somebody that's really good at this and let them do their job. It's the most liberating, freeing thing you could do as an entrepreneur and a business owner.
That's amazing. And so during this time of losing businesses, building businesses, losing marriage, having your kids have kids, which is a beautiful thing. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Was there any like mental health issues, and what did you do to like stave off the mental health issues? What are some of the things that you do now? And we'll get into the fitness. I know you're a big fitness guy, so am I, but what are some other things that have helped you in your life to kind of stay grounded and not freak out when everything seems like it's crashing around us?
Well, I'd love to say that I don't freak out. Sometimes I do freak out. You know what I mean? I don't think there's this linear line. There's so much conversation around mental health. There's so much conversation around what mental health even is. Like, who determines the benchmark? What does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, because to me, somebody looks at me and they think I'm a freaking raging lunatic, and other people are like, oh, he's chill. And it just depends on where you're at and what you're getting from me and where I am emotionally. And I have shitty days. I have great days. Did you experience me today? You know what I mean? So I think what's really important right now is for guys to get really honest. Like really get honest. Like, where the fuck are you really at? Like if you're sad as shit, just talk about it. Like if you hate what you're doing, you hate your marriage, you hate your body, you hate where you're at, let's talk about it. But if you're walking around, yeah, everything's good, man. Everything's good, man. Everything's good, man. Like, you're going to be fucked. And I think that's one of the things that I've noticed in coaching, thousands and thousands of people, is most people really struggle emotionally, psychologically with their mental health when they're lying, when they're simply not telling the truth. Now, that opens up Pandora's box because most people have a hard time telling the truth, period. We were programmed to lie. Say what's socially acceptable. Don't rock the boat. Don't piss anybody off at church. Don't piss up anybody off at work. Don't piss off your wife. Don't piss off your husband. And so here we are, these grown adults going, well, fuck, what do I say? Well, I'll just say whatever's socially acceptable. And that's what causes us to go into depression and fear and, all these other things. And so for me, I feel like once I started telling the truth, this all started with a Facebook post that I did 12 years ago. Like, my whole following and everything blew up from this one Facebook post. And I did first time something that I'd not done. I didn't create a curated message that sounded all fluffy and whatever. I fucking ripped myself open and I told the truth. And I learned two things in that process. And I mean, that post went on to reach tens of millions of people. Number one, people resonated with my darkness because the post was about my divorce. The post was about that I had fear and I was angry and I was a dick and all these other things. But the second thing that happened through that going viral was I felt better. I felt better. I didn't need to wear a mask. I didn't need to pretend. I didn't need to bullshit anybody. I was just like, look, man, here's who I am. This is what's going on in my world. This is what's going on in my head and in my heart. And millions of people resonated with it, and I felt better. And so I kind of stepped back and I was like, well, if this is the recipe and I feel better and I can build a huge company around this and get a huge following, which is what we're all after, I'm just going to keep doing it. And, over the last 10 years, I just keep sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing. And I share what's real. And some posts are way more edgy. And sometimes I'm super pissed off. And sometimes I got tears, streaming down my face. And sometimes it's not politically correct. But, even the trolls that don't like me, even all the haters that don't like me, the comment that's the funniest to me is they're like, we think he's a total asshole, but we know that he's at least giving us his real shit. And that's kind of my game right now is you might not like me and I might not like what I stand for or where I go or what I do or how I do this or how I do that. But at least it's real and it's real to me and it's the truth to me. So I feel like right now this mental health crisis that we're dealing with is not easily remedied, but it's also not that hard to change if you just start telling the fucking truth.
Yeah, I really like that. Stop lying to yourself. And that's one of the things I'm really advocating for and talking to people like you to realize that being vulnerable doesn't make you a weak man. If anything, being able to tell the truth about the issues you have makes you a stronger man. And maybe you can expand on this. I knew for me with my mental health issues, my PTSD, depression, anxiety, that the minute I got into the eye of the storm and I said, look, I am tired of this. I can't be negative anymore. I can't act like this. I'm going to lose my marriage. Things are going to go from bad to worse because I was that guy. I was the sad guy. You'd ask me if I'm fine. I say everything's okay. But inside I was like, fuck my life. I hate this. I hate everything. I remember times where I had my gun in my hand. It's like, is this my last day? And, after I lost my first marriage of 18 years, which was 60% my fault because of emotional abuse and me being an asshole and not how to deal with anger issues and the trauma that I had dealt with my new wife. I was like, man, I do not want to lose her. I do not want to be alone. I do not want to be without her. And I had to make a change. And I tell people, I didn't have an aha moment, but I realized that everything in life that you're scared to do, and maybe you can attribute to this to even jumping out of the plane that you did recently with your son, when you're at that door and you're looking down and you're seeing all that land and you're so high up, you're like, man, this shit sucks. It's horrible. I can't do this. But as soon as you take that leap, you realize, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that I learned years ago that really helped me, and I feel like I don't have the experience that you guys have had on the battlefield. I haven't had, those life or death situations in that reality. So I really can't speak to that. But I've had really intense experiences and really intense emotions. I've had dark moments. I've had the gun in my mouth. And so I feel like I can resonate with that. But one of the things that has become really relevant to me is understanding that people are going to judge me no matter what. Right? And they're going to judge you, and they're going to judge everybody listening here. So it doesn't matter if I'm driving a Ford Bronco or if I'm driving a Lamborghini. Somebody's going to judge me for whatever. If I'm jacked, it's because I take steroids. If I'm fat, it's because I'm a lazy piece of shit. If I'm rich, he's a snake oil salesman. He's a trust fund baby, whatever. If I'm poor, it's because I'm undisciplined and I'm, stupid. And so a couple of years ago, it kind of hit me. I'm like, no matter what I say online, there's going to be people shitting all over it. No matter what I drive, there's going to be people shitting on it. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, no matter what I wear, people are going to judge me. And I just kind of had this moment where I was like, well, if that's the case, then I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want to do and let the chips fall how they fall. And it just became this real powerful moment for me where I realized I don't really share a lot of the things that I share to try and garner all of these fans and friends and get this following. I share what I share because it's my reality. And it's kind of like the lighthouse. I talk about the lighthouse a lot. Like a lighthouse shines its light no matter what. It's got seagulls on top of it shitting all over it. It doesn't stop shining its light. Like the boats are coming in and crashing onto the rocks. The lighthouse just keeps shining its light. And so that kind of became an epiphany for me where I realized that I'm going to be judged no matter what. So I'm just going to do the shit that I want to do that makes me happy and let people say whatever they want to say.
And I respect that. And I think more people need to be their authentic self, especially with me, with growing my business, my brand, my company. I've never sugarcoated anything. There's no reason to show a highlight reel. I might as well show you the good with the bad. And that just reminds me, have you heard of the saying, choose your hard?
Yep.
So that's essentially choose your heart. Are you going to choose the heart of being lazy, fat, sick, undisciplined, or the heart of being in shape, hard to kill, have everything you want? At the end of the day, we have one life, and it doesn't matter who judges you. I always say, if you don't have haters, you're not doing something right. So,
true story.
I commend you on that. So let's go on a little bit about being a father, what that's like for you and what that means as what you're trying to show your kids as a man, as a leader, and what it's like to be a newly grandfather. Do you go by grandpa?
Well, he's too little to call me anything yet. So I haven't decided. Like my daughter was like, what are we going to call you? Like kind of all the grandparents picked out their names or whatever. So I'm still undecided on that. But we called my grandpa Pop. And so I was like, let's call me Pop. But we'll figure it out. He'll call me whatever he wants when he gets older.
So how the things that you do now, from building a business and losing it to growing a business now, coaching, speaking, writing a book, how has that instilled your leadership onto your kids and what your kids are currently doing and trying to do with their lives?
My son's 19 and he's out doing door-to-door sales right now. My daughter's 22. She just got married, had a baby. My youngest son is 16. He plays hockey. He's still in high school. One of the things that I learned after kind of my 1.0 to 2.0 is as I mentioned earlier, when I wanted to build the life and then build the business to support it, is like, I wanted to do something where my kids could be involved with me. I wanted my kids to see me build a business. I wanted them to see me struggle. I wanted them to see me bet on myself and go big. And that's one of the things that I'm grateful I did, 12, 13 years ago, as my kids were significantly younger, is I involved them in everything. And that's something where some people say, well, don't, or this or that. And I don't really give a shit what people say. Like, I know how my kids are, and they're phenomenal, and I built it the way that I wanted to build it, but I don't sugarcoat and hold anything back from my kids. Like when I'm building a business or I'm growing, and my kids, like with my apparel company, before we, blew up, my kids were making all the shirts. So they would make them, and I'd have them write the notes to the customers and package them up, and we'd, send them off and stuff like that. So they got to see me go from like one heat transfer machine to 2 to 4 to 6 to 7 to then warehousing everything, and $180,000 orders and racks and 1,700 different SKUs and thousands of orders a week and all this other stuff. And I'm grateful that I did, because they saw me grow, they saw me win, they saw me get my face kicked in. And I think it's really important to show your kids. I say this all the time. Don't tell your kids about life. Don't be a man who's like living a shitty life, who looks like shit, who doesn't love what he does, like, and then tell your kids to go dream big. I mean, it's like, it's as ridiculous as you could get. So I just made the choice years ago, like, I'm going to show my kids a father living his dreams. Like, I'm going to race cars. I'm going to go to Baja. I'm going to do the things that I'm passionate about. I'm going to speak from stage, and they're going to be standing there right with me. They're going to be sitting right with me. And that's something that I'm grateful that I did. And my kids are, they're fucking amazing. They're absolutely thriving. They've all been on stage with me since they were little. Like, wow. I've brought them into all of the events. My daughter, it was really cool. My daughter got home from a Mormon mission about 2 weeks before my last big event that we had Jordan Peterson come to. And one of the highlights of that event was we were backstage with Jordan, and my daughter walked up to him and handed him a Book of Mormon. And I was I was like so fucking proud of her, because I'm like, here's this 20-year-old young lady who is a woman of faith, because I'm a man of faith, going up to this other man of faith and saying, here's something that I believe. This is something that has helped me and changed my life, and handing him this, testament of what she believes. And I was just like, fuck, dude, like, that's the game. Like, that's what I've tried to raise my kids to do, because they've seen me share my witness and share my testimony about God. And, now they're doing the same thing. So I really feel strongly about this, that as parents, we can't be hypocrites. We've got to show them life, because they see it. I don't remember a lot of the shit my dad told me, but I remember what he showed me. I remember what he showed me far more than what he told me. And so I know that if my kids are going to observe the same way, I want in 20 years for them to look back and go, you remember Dad crashed that Razor and flipped it and he almost died, and he started this company and did this thing and did that thing. And remember when we were in Hawaii and we jumped out of the plane and we went and shot an elk and drug it 2 miles down the road? And that's what I want for my kids, is for them to see a man living his life, building his dreams.
I love that. And I have a daughter who is 25, who's going to be getting married soon, a son who's 24, and then my 13-year-old. And talking about leadership, one of the greatest things I love saying on this podcast is my kids have always saw me go to the gym constantly. From the time I got out of the military, I got depressed, I blew up to almost 300 pounds, and fitness essentially saved my life and put me back in the fight, back in the game. And when I had my son this summer, the first thing he said to me is, Dad, can I go with you to the gym? And that just lit up my heart. I took him to the gym, and thinking that, he's going to quit on me and be like, I don't want to do this anymore, he just smiled at me. He said, when can we go again? And he's been consistent with me going to the gym. And I just really want men to realize that we have to lead by example, that if we're going to have this future, be better for our kids and our kids' kids, men have to start standing up. And I think sometimes that's why you particularly and the other guys that I respect get a lot of hate, is because you do go against the grain. It's more of that old school way of thinking of, you're going to treat a woman a certain way. You're going to, tell your daughter that you love them, tell your kids that you love them, tuck them in at night, be vulnerable, be strong, be all the things that a man needs to be. So going into that with fitness being a priority, how has fitness helped you in your life, helped you in your business, and helped you be a better man?
It's obviously an outlet for me. It's a place that I can go and blow off steam and handle whatever I need to handle emotionally. I think a lot of guys understand that. That's why I love fighting and I love MMA and I love training and sparring and stuff, because I get to go and get punched in the face and punch guys in the face and have a really good time doing it, you know? But my kids, obviously, like my son and I banter back and forth because he's 19 and he's getting jacked. And so he'll send me a picture with his shirt off and I'm flexing with mine. And he's like, Dad, you're freaking jacked. And it's not only been great with my kids, with my son specifically, but I truly believe as a leader, like I've never asked anybody to do something that I haven't done myself. I've never asked anybody to walk into a storm that I haven't been in myself. I haven't asked anybody to do a workout that I haven't done myself. And I really believe that, like, if I want to help my children become excellent, then I need to be excellent. And if I want to help my tribe and my people and Lions Not Sheep and all my clients in the Lion's Den, you know, I don't want to be that hypocrite. And so to me, it's like, I want to build the best version of me because that's the best example. Right? Like, I'm not saying, hey, you guys should all go get in shape while I'm not. I'm like, hey, man, I'm fucking jacked. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, let's go, you know? And that's something that's important to me. And you catch a lot of shit for it. And it's only from one segment of the market, which is the guys that aren't in shape. But the guys that are in shape know the discipline and the consistency that it takes to build and weaponize your body to look and perform and act a certain way. So to me, I get far more messages from dudes that are like, dude, it inspires me because this isn't a fad. I'm not just like getting in shape to go to a photo shoot for a deal. Like, I've had a six pack for the last 6 years, you know, and I'm 46 years old and I've had blown out both my knees, spinal stenosis, you know, spine surgery, shoulder surgery, like the whole thing. So I really feel like as a man, like I want to be the example. I am the example, not only for my family, for my sons, for my children, but for my tribe, for my people, for the people that want to step into something bigger. I want to be that guy that's the example.
And I love that. And, you know, I'm the same thing. People think I'm crazy when I talk about how, you know, in the military, I've had back injuries, knee injuries, like all kinds of shit that happened to me. And I really tell them that if it wasn't for fitness, like my body would fall apart. I don't think I'd be able
Yeah.
to walk. I don't think I'd be able to climb upstairs. And they're like, well, how can you push through the pain? And it's like, well, once again, once you get in the eye of the storm and you just suffer through a little bit of discomfort, the pain sometimes goes away, or the pain isn't as painful as it was. You learn to deal with the pain, you learn to live with the pain, and then that pain becomes your ally and you become a bigger, better, stronger person. Would you like to expand on that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, you said choose your heart, choose your pain. I mean, guys, like if you're listening to this and you have man tits, it's probably painful to look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. That's just truth. You know what I'm saying? You go to the beach and you have your kids playing around and like you can barely freaking waddle out of your beach chair. It's like, that's painful. It should be. You know what I'm saying? And so choose your pain. Like I blew out my shoulder 2 years ago and my bicep, and I was at the gym the next day. I had my arm in a sling and had shoulder surgery, and like I was just doing legs because I'm like, to me, this is habitual. This isn't just a fad. It's my life. It's
Right.
who I am. So when I'm 50, when I'm 60, when I'm 70, it's like, what's the game going to be there now? You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to show up then now, at that point in time, right? But I really feel strongly that, like, same thing you just said, like going through the pain. Everything's painful. It's painful to be broke. It's also painful to get to a situation, and this might sound really stupid to some people. Like I had when I was buying my Lamborghini, I was like torn between these two colors, and I was stressed. I'm like, fuck, I don't know which one. And that sounds cheesy to some people, but those are the kind of problems I want to have. Like that's the problem that I want to have, is which Lamborghini do I buy? And if that pisses you off or you think I'm an egomaniac, maybe check yourself and ask yourself why. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the kind of things that I want to have. Well, there's people that are trying to give me a break. Like if you're moving forward on a level of excellence and you don't look at yourself in the mirror and say you are the fucking baddest ass version of yourself, then you haven't gone far enough. You haven't done enough, like plain and simple. So get to fucking work until you can look at yourself and be like, I'm a bad motherfucker. That's what it is. That's what it boils down to. And I think that's that mindset. Like I don't wake up in the morning going, yeah, I'm so excited to go to the gym and work so hard that I throw up. Nobody does. But guess what? I just spent 3 weeks in Hawaii with my shirt off damn near the entire time. Most 99% of the people, especially the men, I was way more jacked than any of them. And I'm walking up and down the beach with my shirt off, going in and out of the grocery store, and everybody's looking because I'm fucking shredded. And people look because you're an example. You're the excellence. You're the 1%. And I think a lot of people, especially men, they just have these egos with it. And it's only the dudes who haven't done it.
Mm.
Like when I bought my Lambo, I didn't share it on Instagram. I didn't share it at all. And one night I was talking to Andy Frisilla. You mentioned him earlier. And I'm like, bro, check this out. And I sent him this picture of my Lamborghini. He's like, fuck yeah, bro. He's like, congrats, man. And then we started sharing stories. Like, I remember when I bought my first Lambo and I was like, dude, I feel like a douche. Like, I don't want to share this on social media. And he chewed me out. He was like, fuck you, bro. He's like, if you and I don't shine the light of excellence and show people what's possible, like, then who will? And he made a really valid point. Like, we have to be the example. I want to be the example. And so I want to go through and endure the pain that I need to get the results that I want. And I think what makes really good leaders is if you look at somebody who's shredded, who's got a six-pack, you know that they're doing something different than you if you don't have a six-pack. If you're broke and you're trying to just pay your bills and you think I'm an asshole because I bought a $250,000 car, you have two choices right now. Fuck that guy, or tell me more. Like, what do you do, bro? Like, how do you do this shit? And I'll tell you who the winners and the losers are. The losers are the first guy. Like, fuck that guy. I don't want a Lambo. Fuck you. You want a Lambo. Every dude on planet Earth would love nothing more than to sit their wife in a fucking $250,000 sports car and take her out on a date. And if you say you don't, you're fucking lying. You're lying. So that's that pain, like being willing to face yourself, face your demons, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. The pain of not knowing. The pain of saying, fuck, I was raised by a single mom. I don't know anything about money. Somebody teach me about money. Like having that humility to come to the table. And I think that's really what separates the winners and the losers, those that have and those that don't have.
No, I love that. And, you know, the problems, I love that a lot because, like, a lot of times my wife will hear me, you know, grind out a podcast and I'm like, oh, I got to do another episode. I got another episode. And she's like, isn't that a problem? And I'm like, no, that's a good problem. Like, the more content I put out, the more people are going to see it. Like,
right.
Choose your heart, choose your problems. Someday I'll get my Lamborghini SUV and I'll be rolling down the street, freaking happy as hell. Like, I just think as men, we need to celebrate other men. We need to stop the jealousy, the comparison. You know, like you said, I'm sure if someone stopped you and said, man, it's a nice car, what did you do? You would be able to give them a brief elevator pitch or conversation that maybe would light a fire under their ass. And they're like, well, damn, I want that. So maybe I should do that. There's just too much hate in the world. So with that being said, what do we do? Like, how do we get the youth and young men and even older men, you know, you're in your 40s, I'm in my 40s. How do we get them to wake up?
By being the example. By being the example. That was one of my favorite things about having that car. It was a really cool experience because, I mean, you don't see very many Lamborghinis in Utah, where I live. Everywhere I went, dude, somebody was taking a picture. I was at the gym probably about 6 months after I bought it, and I'm working out, and this guy comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, is that your Lamborghini outside? And he said, yeah. And he's like, dude, that is such a sweet car. He's like, that's like, I had a poster when I was a kid of the Lamborghini. Like, that's been my dream car. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, man. And I grabbed the keys. I threw him the keys. I said, let's go. And we went down, we came out, and I let him drive it around the block. And that's like the amount of kids that rev the shit out of that engine, the amount of adults that I love drive it. I let my son take it to prom. I let all my friends drive it because I'm like, it's a fucking car. It's a car, but it's an experience. And as a little kid, I remember like meeting my heroes, like meeting, you know, Cal Ripken Jr. because I was a big baseball guy. I was like, you have these heroes and these guys that you look at where you're like, fuck, he's the guy. And I really believe like there's so much conversation which is dog shit around narcissism and this and any other. Fuck you. I want to be the example. Like, I want to have that dope ass car that when some fucking 10-year-old walks by it and gets inspired and is like, dude, this is my dream. I fucking let him sit his ass in the car and rev the shit out of the engine. I want to be that guy. And I think every man should like grab his balls and say, fuck this world. Fuck everybody for the judgment. Fuck what everybody's saying. I want to be that guy too. I want to be the inspiration. I want to be the dude that rolls up in the fucking Rolls Royce or the Lambo or the Ferrari that inspires kids. that like motivates kids. Because that's your dream. I'm literally living my dream, showing other people. Oh, you're bragging. Fuck you, it ain't bragging, dude. It's just reality. Because as a little kid, those dudes that showed up in MySpace that like sparked life and had the cool car. You remember when you were a kid and like you saw a cool car and like somebody let you sit in it and you got like, I'm that guy today. Why wouldn't every one of you men listening to this want to be that same guy? And here's the thing. There's two types of people that are listening to this right now. Those of you that are like, fuck Sean Whalen, he's an asshole. Cool, not a problem. Not a problem. Or the dudes that are like, fuck, man, I'm sick of hearing this dude talk about this shit. I'm going to go do it. And that's the thing, man, is I was that guy for a while in my life. I was the guy who looked at wealth, who looked at success. All the dudes with a six-pack, I'm like, this fucking loser, he hangs out at the gym for 6 hours. It's genetics. No, he just simply worked harder than me. He simply did the shit that I wasn't willing to do. And at the end of the day, that's really what we're all being called to as men is like, okay, do you want to be average for the rest of your life or do you want to be the example? I want to be the dad. I own a 500-acre ranch. I want to be the guy that 75 years from now, when I'm dead and in the ground, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren are sitting around the fire of the 500-acre ranch that I bought, that I built from scratch, telling stories about grandpa and great-grandpa. I want to be that guy. And I think most men right now are just too chicken shit to step into that reality. They're too afraid. They're scared of the judgment. They're scared of everything. And I think the more men that step into this, that say, fuck, I'm going to be the example. I'm going to literally follow the guys who have what I want, who built what I want, and I'm going to like do whatever it takes to do that so that my kids can look at me and I'm their hero. I want to be my kid's hero. Fuck Superman and Batman. I want to be the superhero to my kids. And why wouldn't every man listening want to be their children's superhero? Why wouldn't you want you to have the Batmobile? I had a blacked out Lamborghini. It was fucking sick. Why wouldn't you want to be driving the Batmobile? I don't want some other asshole to be driving the Batmobile. I want to be driving the Batmobile. So that's exactly what I built. It's exactly who I am. This is exactly how I live my life.
That's beautiful, brother. I love that so much, and nothing but respect for you with that, because I don't know. Sometimes I don't like the term built different, but I guess sometimes men are just built different because you have one life. Time is not finite, unfortunately. One of those days you're going to come to terms, and why have a life of regret? I was just talking to my wife about this yesterday. I'm like, I just started this business about a year ago, and, I'm doing what I can to become successful and putting in the reps and not listening to the naysayers or the people that say like, well, why aren't you making money, or why aren't you doing this, or why aren't you doing that, and just keep my head down and do what I have to do. And I remember telling my wife yesterday, I'm like, I was really upset. I was having a bad day because I still have bad days too. And one thing I want to tell my community that I tell them all the time, my trauma didn't go away. Okay. I still have PTSD. I still have depression. I still have anxiety, but I do the things and I have the tools needed and necessary to be able to have a good days. And we stack up more good days than bad, we have a better life.
Yep.
And I'm essentially bitching to my wife. I'm like, whining and crying. I'm like, we need to travel. Like I'm very, very, very time conscious for some reason. I'm like, I want to go overseas. I got so much shit I need to see before I die that it's not even funny. So for men, I guess older, near our age, I'm 47. For those that are just starting a business and they really think like they don't have time to be successful, what would you say to them?
It's so funny you asked that. So you know who Grant Cardone is, right?
Of course.
So last week I was in Monaco, South France, and I saw Grant was there, and so I DM'd Grant, and we started chatting. And I've known Grant for a while. I've just chosen to put myself in circles, and we've become buddies and we've smoked cigars before, and did a podcast with him at his house in Malibu. And long story short, he's like, "Hey, come hang out on the yacht." So I got to go down. They picked me up in the tender, and it's crazy. Monaco's insane. If you ever want like to understand real opulence and like just be super motivated and inspired, go to Monaco. It's fucking amazing. But it was almost a traffic jam of yachts. And I'm not talking like my ski boat. I got a 23-foot ski boat, which is pretty cool. I'm talking yachts, like
Right.
100 million, 300 million, 1.2 billion, 1 billion, wow. 800 million, like 200, 400 foot yachts. And this little tender that I'm on is like zigzagging through these fucking things. And we pull up to Grant's yacht. He's like up on the third story, like filming me talking shit. And I'm like, what's up, dog? And we get on, and this is a billionaire, multi-billionaire's yacht. And he's friends with Grant, and Grant rents his yacht. And he's spent the last 2 weeks like yachting there all over the south of France. And as we're sitting there smoking, he's like, want a cigar? I said, sure. We're sitting there smoking a cigar and having an awesome chat. And we were talking about life, and he was talking about asking me about the divorce, and he didn't even know I was getting divorced and going through some shit. And he looked at me, he's like, how old are you? I was like, I'm 46. And he smiled and he started laughing. He's like, bro, you have so much time. And what's crazy about this is I say the same thing to my kids. So I do these Q&As on Instagram, and people are like, oh, I'm 22. What do I do? And I'm like, go travel the world, cuz like you have so much time. And I got like punched in the mouth with my own freaking medicine by Grant Cardone. And he's like, bro, he's like, I'd give anything. I'm 67. And he's like, I'd give anything to go back and be 46 again. He's like, you have so much fucking time. And in my mind, I don't think that way. I'm like, oh God, yeah. And all of a sudden I kind of step back and I realize like I've achieved more in my 46 years than most people will in 460 years.
Wow.
And so it's like, I'm super hard on myself, but like, if you're starting now, like, and if I live to 90 years old, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm barely halfway through this game. So when you zoom out and you look at it, like, I don't care if you're 40, 45, 50, 55, there's nothing stopping you from starting something super fucking dope and building a completely new world and a completely new life for yourself, regardless of how old you are. The only limitation is your brain, because that's how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like the average age of a billionaire is 64 years old.
Wow.
And I'm 46. So I'm like, man, I got like almost 20 years to become a billionaire. And when you look at it that way, I'm like, fuck, I got a ton of time. I'm like, let's get to work. I like the idea of being a billionaire. I like the idea of being able to take my plane to the south of France to hang out on my boat. I like that idea. You know what I'm saying? So it was really cool just you asking that question. And literally not even a week ago, sitting with Grant Cardone on I don't even know, $400 or $500 million yacht. And
Wow.
he asked me the same question. And he kind of like hit me with that truth. Like, dude, you got plenty of time, man. You got plenty. And Grant's a billionaire. I mean, he's crushing the game. But it was a really cool experience, and it helped me really kind of calm down a little bit and realize, like, I've got ups and I've got downs. I've made millions. I've lost millions. I've made millions. I've lost millions. And he's like, dude, I've done that for so long. And the other thing that he said too, and this is just for everybody who's out there who's our age, he said, I didn't really start making good money until I was 50.
Wow.
He's like, that's when I started making good money. So I was like, all right, cool. I get that. And he's like, I've worked my ass off my whole life. But he's like, I didn't start making big money, like real money, until I was 50 years old.
Well, guys, you heard that here first. Time is not an issue. As long as you have breath in your lungs, you can do what you have to do to be successful and try to live that purposeful life. With everything you got going on, what's coming up down the pipe for you, or what's next?
Oh, dude, just enjoying being a grandpa, building my ranch. We're trying to get the ranch done here in the next couple of months. We got some really fun projects. There's some the blue collar space, the service space industry space is a really unique thing happening right now, because there's a massive shift in AI and technology that's been going on in the last 10 years. And so it's opened up a huge window of opportunity in the service-based industry space. So we're going to be investing in quite a few companies there, and buying some companies and doing some deals in that space. But I'm just excited, man. I'm excited every freaking day. Like I wake up, I'm like, all right, let's go. Some days are shitty. Some days I'm like, fuck today. I'm going to go take a nap, but I mean, I'm extraordinarily blessed. I'm healthy. My kids are healthy. The sun is shining. I still have running water. I got a couple nickels to my name. I've got a beautiful, beautiful family. I have some amazing friends. So like when I zoom out and look at all that, like, and I realize that I get to do this, that's something that I say to myself very regularly. I don't have to go to the gym. I get to go to the gym.
Right.
I don't have to work. I get to work. I don't have to do this. I get to do this. It's kind of reframed everything for me. And so I do a lot of things that I get to do, and it's really cool.
So with that being said, I love reframe, and I use that all the time when I'm coaching clients or talking to people and everything. Is that I always say you have to have a limitless belief system, not a limiting belief system. And I love
Yeah.
the statements that I get to, or I can, or I will, versus I can't, I don't. How is gratitude important to your life? As you just said, you wake up thankful for everything, and does that go in term with your faith as well?
Yeah, it's the first thing I do every morning. I kind of have a morning routine, but the very first thing I do every single morning when I get up out of bed is I kneel down and I pray and I express gratitude. I give thanks. It's the first thing I do every single day. Doesn't matter where I am, doesn't matter what's going on in my life. Like, I pray and give thanks every single day.
Guys, and I want you to, when this is live now, but when this airs, like in the podcast section on Apple, Spotify, all the places it airs, go back and rewind that part, because I keep saying to you guys, and I don't think you're listening to me, the importance of gratitude. Gratitude is what literally pulled me out of my darkness. When
Yeah.
I started going to bed and saying three things, and I keep telling you, even if it's the three things all the time, it's fine. I love my wife. I love my car. I love my house. I love my dog. I love my kids. Thank you for giving me breath in my lungs. I have, running water. I have food in my belly. I can go wherever I want. No one's hindering my freedoms. That's a beautiful thing. Most of us don't realize that the things we have in our life, we have a lot more than most people. And instead of appreciating that, you're like, no, I got to hate on this person, or I got to throw internet hate on this, or I got to cause this kind of chaos. And it's just, you're wasting your energy. You're just wasting your time on fruitless and thoughtless things. So the
Yeah.
last comment that I always ask my guests before I end the show is, what is your definition of turning pain into progress?
What is my definition of turning pain into progress? The first thing that comes to my mind, which just popped in, is ownership. Like owning who you really are. Like being able to look at yourself in the mirror, and regardless of what you see, regardless of what looks back at you, owning it. That's you. And I think a lot of people have a lot of pain with that. They have a lot of regret. They carry a lot of shame. There's a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda, wish I had experiences. And I think if you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I get to do this day. I get to literally recreate myself every second of every day. It becomes habitual. And that's really, for me, what has turned my life into a powerful one. Is I've had a lot of setbacks in my life, but I've also achieved so fucking much, and I keep looking at it, and that was painful, and this was painful, and that was painful. And the most powerful moments that I've ever had, the most teaching moments, the most incredible moments of my life that have created the most change have been the darkest. They've been the darkest. It's in the darkness that you really find out who you are. It's in the darkest moments that when you are the only light, that you figure out who you really are. And so I think, turning pain into power is really owning who and what you are, and understanding like you have the ability to take whatever's looking at in that mirror, whatever you see in that mirror, and do something completely fucking different and be something different in this exact moment. To me, that's powerful. If you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm gonna do something different, that's fucking powerful. If you can look at yourself and say, I built this, I suck, this is where I'm at, I'm gonna go do this, that's powerful.
Well, isn't that essentially what Lions Not Sheep is?
It's exactly what it is. Put your big boy pants on, go make something of yourself. And that's what I love doing. I one of the greatest business that I've ever started is my coaching company. We've had 51,000 people come through, and I have tens of thousands of testimonials, literally tens of thousands of testimonials, and people that have changed their life. And it might just be, a small 1 degree change, but that might end up putting them in a completely different continent. And that's like my greatest joy, is being able to work with people that are kind of in that pit, and helping them see what's possible and helping them build what's possible. And then fast forward 6, 8, 12 months, 24, 36 months, seeing a completely new human being. There's nothing that brings me more joy than that, because I was that guy 13 years ago. I was that exact guy in the pit, followed a path, followed a model, had somebody punch me in the face, kick me in the ass, and help me get out. And now I get to do the same thing with people. And it's one of my greatest accomplishments and joys is what it is that we're doing with Lions Not Sheep.
And that's why I do what I do, because I truly believe when you have a service mindset, not for the money, but to what you can give back to people and pour into people, it really is an abundance of, you just get back so much greater, like Grant Cardone would say, 10 times greater than anything else.
Yeah.
And, you know, I truly love helping people, especially from being a veteran and a police officer and all the shit I had to deal with. And I just want people to know that you are enough, you're good enough. You just have to bet on yourself and go out there and do what you have to do. So, Sean, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Great conversation. I can't wait to repost this to all streaming platforms, and I hope everybody gets some sort of value out of this. And thank you for being on the Battle Harder podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, brother. You take care.
You too.
You've just heard another battle-tested conversation. Now it's time to take action. If this episode lit a fire in you, subscribe on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or YouTube, so you never miss a moment that could change your life. Want to go deeper? Connect with Coach Rob at BattleFittedBrand.com for coaching, gear, and tools to help you turn your pain into progress. Remember, life will test you, but you're built to battle harder. Until next time, stay locked in, stay ready, and keep showing up.